Finally I saw the escarpment, a broad flat expanse of bare rock standing above the top of the storm. I knew every dip of that rock, its cataracts, tunnels, open and secret entrances and scuttleways, the oases at its foot, the deep chambers beneath and further back into its stone heart. The wind was still blowing hard and throwing up a blinding torrent of sand as we closed in our destination, a small landing field near the main entrance to House Cherag. Then the ship bucked and leapt upwards. At the same instant my mind screamed, almost a physical shock. I was fighting for consciousness, despair and anger, a bitter taste in my mouth, then another assault driving through my skull. Vac wrestled the controls to stop us pitching over. "Engaging landing sequence," he shouted. The turbines began to cycle down. It was all I could do to sit rigid in my seat. Images, mimetic representations of feelings that were not my own, played across my inner eye. A vertiginous plunge. An alloc I'd once seen devouring another weaker than it, pulling the head off in its beak, and all of it coming from below. I tried to withdraw from the flow. It didn't work at first. The lights seemed too bright, the sound too deafening, the feelings too abrasive. But I kept trying, hovering on the brink of madness. Then it abated just enough to let me think my own thoughts again. And suddenly it was gone. Nothing but the sound of the storm. "Trouble?" I said. My head was pounding. Vac keyed the communicator. "House control. This is mining tug Chakut. What in Sakat is happening down there?" "Control," said a voice. It sounded as dazed as I felt. "Reports aren't making sense right now. House defenders are alerted. There's a detachment on its way to meet you. Control out." Vac looked at me and I could feel his puzzlement. "Come," he said. The ship was settling as we stood. The lock was already open and we descended the ramp into the rushing, sand-laden wind. The storm's violence would help to conceal my return. My secondary eyelid flicked across, protecting my eyes and changing wavelength perception, so the whirling sand in front of my face faded out and I could see past my outstretched arm. Vac felt guarded beside me. Sand scratched against our shells and the gale howled. Bodies were moving towards us quickly, the hulking shape of defenders holding lanterns. The sense out here was muted and little dreamlike. It was like the reaction of an animal badly hurt, but safe for now, curling around its wounds and trying not to think too hard about what had just happened. There were still aftershocks, almost like a reimagining of whatever the inciting event had been, but they were lessening in intensity. Vac and I waited as 4 house defenders came alongside and fell in behind us. They didn't speak. They were here to protect us from whatever had happened, but I didn't think they knew what that was.